Hello everyone, welcome to Madmana Crafts. Today I'm going to be starting on Christmas presents for this year. I'm beginning with a sweater that I'm going to be making for a friend. She really loves llamas and sunflowers, so I'm going to be doing some embroidery on this sweater to put a little llama with some sunflowers just in the little corner there. This is actually the back of the sweater because I already started just to make sure everything looks good, so no spoilers, but that is the plan that we're going with. You might be able to tell I'm getting over a cold right now, so I'm really looking forward to a nice day of just doing some embroidery and not having to use any brain power at all. So yep, that's the plan for today. Hopefully it won't take too terribly long, but we'll see about that. I always underestimate how long these projects are going to take. So let's get going. So I've already gathered my materials that we're going to be needing for this project. I have made a design already. Here's my little llama that I'm going to be embroidering over the top of the sweater. He's a little bit taller here than he will end up being on the sweater because the stitches in the knit aren't exactly a square. They're a little bit shorter than they are wide, so he'll get squeezed in a little bit. And I've just gone ahead and printed him out in black and white because the color isn't really necessary. And I've counted up all the stitches, how wide he is and how tall he is, and gone ahead and marked, hello Benny, marked all of those points out. Here you go, you can be our model, on the sweater so that it'll be in the top right of the person wearing it and the top left as you look at it. So this here is the bottom left stitch of the outline, so it's this one down here. And then after we're done with the llama, I'm going to embroider some sunflowers around the bottom. So the majority of the llama will be this ivory color, and it'll go all the way down and just kind of fade out, and then we'll put the sunflowers on top of those stitches. And then the darker part around the mouth and the little bit of darker shadowing on the hair will be using this color that's called natural, which is just a weird name, but you know, that's what we're working with for that. And then I'll have a little bit of highlighting on the sides and the top of the head, and I'll just use white for that. We'll just be using basic black for all of the outline and the eyes and the mouth. And then for this little part in the ear, I'm going to be using this peach blossom color. That'll be nice. And then once we get to the flowers, I'll be using tawny as the interior of the flower, and this one is gold dust for some of the petals, and I may split the petals up partially between this golden color and this lighter color. I don't remember the name of this one. For now, we're going to start, I think, by doing the outline of the whole llama. I think that'll be a good place to start, so that I know where everything goes, and then I'll add in the smaller bits and go through with the ivory at the end once, and that should be pretty easy because it's basically filling in all of the stitches that I haven't done already. So our first black stitch will be going right here into this marker. So let's go ahead and get started with our black thread. I've just duplicated the V that was already there for that stitch. And so now I'm going to duplicate the one right above it, which I should probably have my pattern visible. That would probably help, you know? Okay. I'm just gonna keep going with that, and I will get back to y'all if anything interesting happens along the way. So, I have a visitor, and, well, technically, I have two, but this one doesn't want me to work right now, it seems, so I would take a break and give him some pets, and then get back to work. I have now finished the black outline of our llama! Yay! Yay! As well as the eyes and the mouth, so all of the stitches that I needed black for have been done, but I'm so tired. So yes, I'll catch y'all in the morning. Good morning! It's the next day now. Feeling a good bit better, feeling rested, still a little sick. Be nice to have another day of a somewhat low effort craft. So I just finished up tying in all of my ends, so we've got it somewhat nice and neat. And I'm going to start now on the smaller bits of color. So the pink in the ears, the shadows and the little nose area and the highlights. And then once I've done those, it's just gonna be filling in the whole rest of the space with ivory, which will be very easy in terms of I won't have to keep looking at the pattern. Will really require no thought at all, which sounds very nice. So let's go ahead and get started with our peach. He's done at long last, and he is adorable. Just as cute as I hoped he would be, and I think he's a nice size for the sweater. So tomorrow I will put the little sunflowers, and then that should be it. And then I guess a final wash and blocking before I give it to my friend as a gift. Very excited, but it is so late. It's so late right now. So I'm going to bed, and this will take me 3 days where I kind of hoped it would take me 2, but good enough. It'll be really cute. Good morning again. Today we're going to be adding the little sunflowers at the bottom of the llama. So the embroidery is not working out great, mostly because I am not very good at embroidery. So instead I'm going to switch to my strong suit, which is crochet, and I'm going to crochet little bitty sunflowers to just sew onto the front. And we'll see, I might leave the petals up or I might sew them down. Up might be fun, but they'll, they might get in the way a little bit as you move around and stuff. So I will make that decision when I get there. So I'm going to be crocheting with my little thread that I used to embroider the llama, and I'm also using a 1mm hook with this, which is itty bitty tiny. So I already have a little pattern that I have for sunflowers, and I'm just going to make that but tiny. I used it for coasters in the past, but for this I'm just going to make the tiny little sunflowers. And if I won't walk you guys through the process of making the sunflower and like tell you what stitches and stuff. I'm just gonna power through it. But if you want a tutorial on how to make these sunflowers, let me know and I can do a video on that, and I'll make it with normal sized yarn, so that you can actually see what I'm doing, because I imagine this is very hard to see on the cameras. So I'm just gonna power through this and I'll get back to you guys when I have all 4 of my sunflowers done. Now that I've got all of my sunflowers completed, I'm going to sew them down onto the sweater right under the llama. I think I've decided that this is the placement that I want for them. Since they're a little bit bigger, I'm going with only 3, but I'll save this guy for another project, probably for a hair clip or a little pin or something like that. Our llama sunflower sweater is done! He is so cute. I could not be more happy with how this project turned out in the end. It makes a lovely little sweater and I love it, and I know that my friend's going to love it too. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.